bonsoir, good evening. Thanks for coming out. This is a first for me at the MCC, and I believe it's a first for the MCC doing this type of workshop. So we're kind of like the guinea pigs for this year. And for those of you who don't know me, mon nom c'est Michel, and I'm a singer-songwriter, French, English, and I've also got, I'm starting to have quite an extensive repertoire of First Nations, because I've been lucky to work with some First Nations people who shared their songs with me and shared their culture with me. Actually, I do workshops with an Algonquin chief in Quebec every 6 months or so to just learn about the native way, because there's a lot of interesting things with the First Nations, and I figured the best way to, when we talk about reconciliation, well, I figured instead of just saying something, I'm going to do something. So, and it's just one thing leads to another. I met some people through the EP.1, which is a historic society. They do historic shows, and that's sort of what opened doors for me. And I like walking through doors, so away we go. Where are we going with this? We're going to analyze songs, and we're also going to do writing exercises. So tonight, I don't know if we'll get into actual writing exercises. It's a good idea, though, with a pen and pad. You can bring a computer if you want. And that's about it. As far as analyzing songs, I'm going to try to bring as many different things as possible, meaning different styles. Some of it's going to be in French. So for those of you who don't speak French, don't worry about it. It'll be, if you can just follow along, and I'll explain everything as we go. It's just there's some French songs. I write French songs, so some French songs I want to integrate into the workshop. And the end game is writing either a poem or a song, lyrics to a song. And then after that, it's really going. I'm really flexible, so we can put music to it. You can put music to it if you're a musician. I'd be working with Louis Lefebvre to compose the music. Or if you want to just do a poem, that's fine too. If it can be slam, it can be what, I want to leave the creative process to you guys. I'm just sort of I like the word facilitator, because I'm just there to kind of give you ideas, and as we analyze songs, you'll discover things. And you'll say, well, maybe that's the type of song I want to write, or that's the type of poem I want to write. And the end game is putting these things up there on stage. You don't. Don't panic. Don't panic. No, what we do is, let's say, Julie, you write a song and you want us to put the music to it. We'll put the music to it, and if you don't want to sing it, we'll take care of that. So the idea is that we'll do the performing, myself, Louis, and some musicians. But if any of you want to perform your own songs, I'm totally open to that too. Okay? Flexible. Like I said, this is a creative, and I should come back to the express yourself. Exprimez-vous. Daniel Brun, who you met on Weigh-In, is the new director here. And he's the one who came up with that idea. I think it's an amazing idea. Because it's so open. To express yourself. Exprimez-vous. Comme vous voulez. Dans la langue que vous voulez, in the language you want. I'll probably bring in songs that I don't even understand, some African music, some First Nation music, just so you get to hear different, the sonorités, different sounds. And just this, usually, like I listen to a lot of songs that I don't understand, but I feel them. I get it in a certain way, and I think that's the idea behind it. So that's about it. Before we start, I'm going to get you guys to get out of your comfort zone sometimes. Like, we're going to sing together, okay, just to get things going. It's really just a warm-up, and we'll do a few vocal warm-ups. I'll show you some stuff that I do. I'm not expecting any of you to walk out of here and become singers, but if you want to, that's great too. But it's just the idea is just to get the creative juices flowing, sort of thing. So, to start off, we're going to warm up our vocal cords, and it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird, but let yourself go. If there's one thing I hope that you'll do is just be open-minded. Be open-minded and let yourself have fun. That's the whole thing behind it. So, what we're going to do is you keep your lips together and kind of relax your mouth, okay? These are lip bubbles. So, and you just kind of do like that, okay? And if you have a hard time, if you have a hard, some people have a hard time doing.
I sleep like that.
So what you do is, you put your fingers on the side of your mouth like this, and you just go like that. And it should come. Yeah. Okay, so now the next step is you put a little bit of sound in there. The idea is, and anybody who even speaks, you're using your vocal cords, so they're moving a lot. If you yell, that's hard on the vocal cords. You should do these. You should do these if you yell a lot. What it does is, you have your lips kind of hold back the pressure, and it moves inside your vocal cords. It makes them move, and that's what the whole idea is, to just get them moving. So what you want to do on this next step is go just nice and soft. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that just gets the vocal cords going a little bit. Next step, okay, is breathing. A lot of us forget how to breathe. Let me explain. Okay, a baby. On couche un bébé sur son dos. So we put a baby on his back. What part of his body moves when he's breathing? The ventre, okay, the stomach. Because a baby breathes naturally. Our natural breathing should come from here, not from here, okay? So to get back to that, what you're going to do is sit kind of square in your chair, put your hand on your belly. You're going to breathe through your nose, because usually it's easier to get the air to go right in, okay? So you breathe through your nose, and what should happen is your stomach should move, okay? So you kind of go, let all the air out, hand on that, and then go. And you should feel your hand move, even if it moves just a little bit. That means you're getting some air down here, okay? So are we all good with that? Okay? So I want you to do this. We're going to do it 3 times, okay? And another thing that it does is it relaxes you, it calms you. Besides being a singer-songwriter, I'm a volunteer firefighter. That's the first thing I do when I get into the truck, is 3 nice deep breaths to focus. Okay, so that's the idea. Okay, so we like this, and we're ready. We breathe through the nose and let it out. And just slowly let it out. Okay, you don't have to push it out. And again, and then. And one more time. And if you really want to take this to the next level, is when you do this exercise, you just let, as you get used to it, you just let a little bit of air out at a time. And that kind of, it slows things down, but it's also, it helps for singing or screaming. if you do a lot of screaming. So that's just a warm up, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're going to do a song called Nisa. So say the word Nisa. Nisa. Nisa, ça veut dire grand-mère la lune. So Nisa means grandmother moon. Okay? This is the First Nations. It's in the Seneca language. The Seneca are part of the Iroquois Six Nations. There's the Mohawk. Seneca is one of them. And that's more towards New York State. Okay? So Nisa means grandmother moon. And say the word Gaiaweo. 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 Everybody. Gaiaweo. Okay, Gaiaweo means I'm watching you, or in the native culture, the moon is she's the watcher. She watches over us at night, like grandfather's son is there during the day. Okay, so I'll show you how it's sang, and then we're going to sing it together. So it goes like this. Nisa, 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 Gaiaweo, Gaiaweo. Okay, so not very complicated, 2 words, that's it, okay? So Nisa, 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 3 times. Then we go up a little bit. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. We come back down. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Gaiaweo. And you really stretch out. That's where those breathing exercises come in. You get a good breath in, and then you go, Gaiaweo. Gaiaweo. We're good? Here we go. Okay? Like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Gaiaweo. Gaiaweo. Super. You got it? Okay. This time we're going to do it 4 times. Once it's the idea is to honor each direction. Okay. So we start in the east. Actually, the reason I usually start there on the left is because through the teachings that I have, if I ever say Shomis means grandfather. Grandfather Dominic, who's the Algonquin chief I'm speaking of, they always go to the left. Okay. The Algonquins, the Ojibways, they go to the left. In the Mohawk culture, they go to the right. It's just protocol. It all comes down to the same thing. So we start in the east. So we're going to go Nisa, Nisa, that whole form for each. Once we get to the last one in the north, okay? Yes, should, west, no. Once we get in the north, we go Gaiaweo, Gaiaweo, and we finish with Gaiaweo, a 3rd one, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Gaiaweo. Gaiaweo. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Gaiaweo. Gaiaweo. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Gaiaweo. Gaiaweo. Nisa, Nisa, Nisa. Nisa, 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 Galway-o, Galway-o, Galway-o. Yeah, bravo. Bravo. There we go. Okay, so that's just kind of warm up, get us going. Nadine, est-ce que tu as reçu les chansons?
Oui.
Okay, good. Okay. So three, and actually it was four. Okay. So, we should be able to get through these this evening. I tried to vary it as much as possible, but I figured to start off with one of my songs. Might as well. I know what I wrote, so it'll be a lot easier that way. So When Decade is the first song. And When Decade is not in French, it's not in English, it's actually in Huron. So When Decade means Huronia, the Huron, okay? And When Dat means the Huron people in their language. So we'll start off with that. I'll introduce to you Monsieur Ledoux. Who is that? I'm trying to think that there's a blues singer. His guitar is called Lucille.
B.B. King.
B.B. King. Yeah. B.B. King. His guitar is called Lucille. My guitar is called Monsieur Ledoux, Mr. Will, because it's actually handmade. You see the F on top. It's André Forget. He's a local guitar maker, and I got lucky. He had never done guitars with like a theme. He had done guitars, just with the dots on it. And he started making a guitar with wolves on it, and he phoned me up, and he says, because he knows I like wolves. So he said, you're interested? And I said, well, when you're done, let me know, and I'll try it out and see what it sounds like. It was love at first play. So, yeah, and I got it before he started, he built, I think, 4 more like with the wolves on them, but they're a lot more expensive now because he didn't realize how much time it takes to do all this, because this is a work of art, this guitar. Like all the work that goes into that, it's really fine work. And but it was too late. He had already quoted me a price. He couldn't say, oh no, I'm doubling the price. But he would never do that anyway. But now I paid $3,700. He sells them for like $7,000, $8,000 now. So I don't think I can afford them anymore. So, When Decade. I'll sing through it, okay, and then I'll explain the song, and we'll just talk about it. And so this is a song in honor of the Wendat people. I'll kind of bring you up to speed how it got written, the reason behind it. So away we go. And if you feel like singing along, I've never stopped anybody from singing with me. If you feel like singing along, it's really not hard. All it is, oh, 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 Wendat, oh, 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 Wendat came, oh, 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 Wendat, oh, 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 Wendat came. Okay, here we go. À la fenêtre d'une journée de pluie, vers le passé, s'envole mon esprit. Au temps l'ombrage d'une immense forêt, paysage comme un grand maritime. Oh, 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 when I, oh, 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 when I came, oh, oh, when I, oh, 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 when I came, la mer douce au vent du lac Huron, des gorgières et des jurons, quand les beaux rouges déguisés couraient avec les loups, ce paradis inexploré. Oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day. Plusieurs hivers vont s'écouler avant d'arriver de l'homme brûlé. Les hommes de fer, l'air noir, la maladie, la guerre ont amené. Oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day. Le feu sacré au cœur des Wendat, sur des visages pâles, s'est enflammé. Mais il ne reste que l'écho de leur cri qui remonte le temps, la plaine de toute la vie. Oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, 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 when that, oh, 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 when that day, oh, when that day, oh, when that day, oh, when that day. All right. Oh, c'est ça que j'ai oublié, I told you about that. Okay. I'm getting behind it. In my notes, we're going to do, everybody's going to present themselves, but before we go there, we'll finish with this. When that day. This is what you'd call a song that was kind of, how can you say, it was une chanson commande, comment je dirais ça, une chanson commande. We were doing a play, two-man show, actually with a local writer, Daniel Michel, years ago. And it was about the French people in Ontario were called Franco-Ontarians. It has a lot to do with, you know, the Québécois calling themselves Québécois, and then back in the 70s, and then French people here started saying, well, what are we then? We kept saying French-Canadian. So that's where the term Franco-Ontarien came from. Anyway, this play was the story of the Franco-Ontarians from the beginning, from the French settlement here in Ontario, which starts here at St. Marie among the Hurons. You know, Etienne Brûlé coming here on the orders of Samuel de Champlain and all that. And we had a bunch of songs, but they were all like French traditional and you know, some modern ones, but there was nothing for that period of time, like the Wendat. So Daniel comes to me, I'll still remember this like it was yesterday, gives me a sheet of paper, and it's written, oh, Wendat, oh, Wendake. Écris une chanson. He said, write a song. Okay, so that's where it started. And actually, I came up with the with the refrain, the chorus, first. And that's where, when that key, that's where it started. And then after that, I started to work the verses. And it's funny because par la fenêtre d'une journée de pluie, vers le passé s'envole mon esprit. That's what I wrote in the first few lines. So from a window on a rainy day, vers le passé, towards the past, mon esprit, my mind kind of went back in time. When I wrote that, it was raining outside. So I don't know, you know, some things happen when you're writing that are very subconscious. It kind of just, and you don't realize it until after you're done. And then you go, oh my God, yeah, that's right, I wrote that on a rainy day. I didn't get the whole thing done in one shot, and I had some help as to the history of it because I'm not a historian, Daniel Marchidon is. So he kind of brought me up to speed on the history of the area and the Wendat people and all that. So that's how it starts. And then, au temps de l'ombrage d'une immense forêt, at the time where in Canada, all it was basically a big forest, you know, except for in Quebec, there was a bit of settlement because of Champlain. And then, sur ce paysage, comme un grand Manitou iranien. Manitou is the, yeah, in the natives, we say that Manitou in French and in English, the Manitou, they have words in their languages that mean the same thing, but you know. So I was just trying to bring people, when you're writing a song, it's like somebody who writes a book, you try to bring the reader into your story. But in a song, you don't have a lot of time to do that. So you really have to bring it in fast. If they don't know your song, it's not recorded. Okay? You're just singing. I'm on stage for the first time at the MCC, singing to a bunch of people who've never heard me before. It's very important that they won't get all the lines, especially if they've never heard a recording of your song. But if you can kind of get the story enough, they'll be able to follow you. And that's the idea when you're songwriting, is to get people to understand what you're trying to tell them or what you're trying to make them feel. That's another thing I really want you to put an emphasis on. The idea in songwriting or poetry or painting or anything in the arts is to make people feel something. Okay? You really want to make them feel something. Okay? This is just like we're right at the beginning, so don't get stressed out about any of this. I'm just kind of giving you the tools. Once we're going to do exercises. We'll do writing exercises, and somewhere down the line, it'll just click. Again, like I can't guarantee that, but at some point, after we've analyzed so many songs, you're going to start to think, okay, I don't think I can write that type of song or that type of poem, but I'm going to try this instead. And your imagination has no limits. Don't ever set limits for yourself. And you're the only one who's putting up barriers, okay? When you're creating, anything goes. When I write, and just write everything that comes to my head. I try not to censor myself. And it's hard. In today's society, to not censor yourself, it's really hard. Because you don't want to, you know, how are they going to perceive? But I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable. So anyway. Okay. So usually a storytelling song doesn't have a chorus. I put one. because it was about the Wendat and the Wendat. And like I said, rules are made to be broken, bent, and out of shape, and you do what you want with them. Okay? That's what I did. I'll show you more traditional storytelling songs as we go here, where they don't really have chorusing. So, Wendat. Deuxième couplet, okay? Second verse. La mer douce au nord du lac Huron. So, la mer douce is the soft. Some of this I'm going to be doing direct translations. That's one thing you don't want to do with songs. I've adapted a lot of songs from French to English or from English to French. You want to translate the idea, not the word for word, because if you do, well, you get a good laugh out of it. I guarantee you get a good laugh out of it. But sometimes it goes, that doesn't make any sense. It's like Google Translate. Anyway, fait que la mer douce means, douce means soft. So the soft sea.
Freshwater sea.
Freshwater sea, okay? And mer douce, pardon?
On pourrait même dire sweet water if you wanted to get it more poetic.
Okay.
Sweet water.
And this is directly from Champlain. He's the one who named Georgian Bay La Mer Douce, because when he tasted the water, he comes from France, tasted the water. Ah, la mer est douce. You know, there's no salt in that water. For him, it was a big deal. Well, it was kind of a downer because he was looking for India. So he's going, oh no, this isn't salt water. But anyway, so au nord du lac Huron, and if you look on a map, it kind of makes sense. Georgian Bay is kind of north. Anyway, geographically, it kind of works. Not exactly, but it kind of works. And don't forget poetic license. We can use that. Baie Georgienne, so Georgian Bay, Pays des Hurons. The country of the Hurons, the Wendat people. Quand les peaux rouges aux têtes hérissées, the French often call them les peaux rouges, the Redskins. Okay, today it would be seen as derogatory. Okay, but that's the way they spoke back then. Peaux rouges aux têtes hérissées. Hérissé means in French, hérisson is a hedgehog. Okay, and you know how the hair, it's kind of like, so hérissé means the hair up like this. It's not really Iroquois, because the Iroquois, they had a different culture, so they shaved the sides and you know.
The Mohawk.
Yeah, the Mohawk. But the Huron was a bit different. But it was still the same idea, the hair up. And they were like cousins, actually distant cousins. The Iroquois nations and the Hurons are cousins. They fought, hell, but anyway, that's another story. Fait courir avec le loup, had wolves, ce paradis inexploré, an unexplored paradise, because that's what it was back in the day in Canada. It was just a big forest with lots of, native villages here and there, okay? And it's not, so we'll when that, come back to the, subject matter, the Hurons and their territory, Wendake. Plusieurs hivers sont écoulés, okay, vont s'écouler. So many winters passed. S'écouler, that means to, like when water melts, ça coule, okay, it goes downstream. Okay, so instead of saying many years passed, that's another thing. Try and put images. That helps so much in a poem or in a song. Try to put images, because those people that never heard your song or your poem and are hearing it for the first time, if you put images in, it lights something up in there. They see it happening, okay? So plusieurs hivers vont s'écouler avant l'arrivée de l'homme brûlé, before Étienne Brûlé arrived. And they used to call him, the Hurons used to call him l'homme brûlé. That was their way of designating him. Brûlé was his last name, didn't mean he was burnt. I guess brûlé in French means burnt. Fait brûlé, l'homme brûlé. Okay? Les hommes de fer et les robes noires. Les hommes de fer were men of steel. No, it wasn't Superman. Okay? Men of steel, because the French had steel. The natives never saw steel until the French came here. You know, they got metal. You know, what is that? And cutting, you can imagine grabbing an axe that's usually made with stone, cutting down a tree, and then you grab an axe with it's made out of steel, whack, 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 you go out and go a lot faster. So that made a lot of trade. But that's why they called them the men of steel, les hommes de fer. And then les robes noires were the Jesuits. The natives have a very colorful language. And you know how French and English, we have very specific meanings to words. But I'll take the example of a while ago, Nisa. Nisa doesn't just mean the moon, it means grandmother. There's always like an image tied to it. And that's how they sort of described people they knew so that they could remember who they were. So les robes noires, that's what the Jesuits, because they were always dressed in those big black dresses. La maladie, la guerre, un nouveau Dieu. This is when it starts to get serious. Okay, because they built something beautiful at St. Marie, a collaboration, you know, the French and the Hurons together. They built this place and they worked hard at it. But then, and I'm sure it wasn't, c'était pas voulu.
On purpose? Was it on purpose?
Yeah, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose, but they brought diseases with them that the Hurons couldn't fight. They didn't know how. Like la scorbut. Scorbut is
Scurvy.
scurvy. Yeah, the scurvy. They didn't know nothing about that. Eventually, they did figure out ways. The scurvy, they use pas de la sauge, mais cedar. Yeah, cedar, because there's lots of nutrients, lots of vitamins in it, and that's what scurvy is. You're missing vitamins. You don't have as many. So that would replace the vitamins, and they get better. La maladie, la guerre, so the war, and that was against the Iroquois, their cousins, who were a lot more of them. So when they were coming to attack St. Marie among the Hurons, if you know a bit of the story, they burnt it, and they left with the French and went back to Quebec. That's why the descendants of the Wendat that were here are now in Quebec City. That's where they're on, in a reserve that's actually a little city within the city. They're really nice people. I've gone a few times and met with some of them. One decade. Oh, c'est super. Really nice people. And un nouveau Dieu, well, the Jesuits brought Christianity and they wanted to convert them, which wasn't necessarily something they wanted. You know, it's the whole colonization thing. And it was sort of rammed down their throats. Some of them wanted it though. Don't get me wrong, some Wendat people thought it was a great idea, you know, the Christian thing. And some, it just ripped their nation apart because, you know, it's just not the same beliefs. And who are we to judge? Anyway, the past is past, we've got to move forward. So, Wendat, back to the chorus, okay, message. It's not really a message. Usually in a chorus, that's where you find the message. But in this case, it's because it's about them. It's about the Wendat. And so it was to honor them. So, le feu sacré au cœur des Wendat. So, the fire, the sacred fire in their hearts of the Wendat people, sur les visages pâles s'est enflammé. So they got mad at the French, obviously. Some of them left with them, but some of them, you know. And the torturing thing, who knows? Some say it's the Iroquois who tortured the Jesuits. Some say it's the Wendat. Unless you were there, who knows? You know. Mais il ne reste que l'écho de leur cri. So that's all that's left is the echo of their cry. When I said cri, cri means to scream, but I meant their cry, okay? But it wouldn't have worked there. That word cry, pleurer, it wouldn't have worked. So, qui remonte le temps, la plainte d'un peuple envahi. So it's coming back from way back in time to now. And they were basically people who had been
Conquered?
Yeah, taunted and changed forever because, you know, we took them away from their land. This was all their territory here, everywhere around here. Huronia was all around Georgian Bay was Huron territory, and so they're no longer here, which is kind of the sad part of it at the end of the story. And going back to the play, that's why we needed something at the beginning of this play to start the story. And then after that, we did we did some traditional songs because in French we have a lot of call and response songs. On appelle ça des chansons à répondre, call and response. There's a lot of that in our tradition. And the nice thing about it is because it makes people, sing together. Even the people who don't like to sing, often they usually go to an evening at some friend's place and have a few drinks, and next thing you know, the guy who didn't sing in the corner, all of a sudden, he's singing.
How many more verses could you have written?
I don't think I could have written more than that because first of all, it had to be it couldn't be too long because we had so much time with it. It was a 45-minute show, 45 to 60-minute show. And the beginning, it was just to set up the beginning, the Wendat people and the Jesuits and that whole story, to start the story from here in Huronia and then build out to the rest of Ontario.
But if you were writing this just for the sake of writing, could you not write another 10 verses?
Oh, no doubt. I'd have to do a lot more research to get a historical, because you'd want to bring more history into it, but I think it says what it says. It's been, for me, it's been a song that's made me travel a lot. I've done tours of Ontario more than once because of Wendat. And people say, don't you ever get tired of singing that song? No, I never do. Because that story still intrigues me today. This story, it's like a kind of a never-ending thing. And I was talking about these, L'Écho d'un Peuple. They're historical reenactors, and they do shows with music in it and video and all kinds of stuff. And the Félix Saint-Denis, who's the guy who runs the show, he keeps saying, when are you going to do sort of what you're saying, the second part of the song? And if I do, I think I speak to the modern world a lot more. And I'm getting a lot more of a background because of my teachings with Grandfather Dominic. The Native culture is a rich culture. It's so rich and so not understood. It's just not the way. If you really get to learn, they're very generous people once you get to know them. But after so many hundreds of years of being, put in a corner and on reserves and stuff, you get a little shy. But once you get to know them, they're an interesting people. Grandfather Dominic, I love that man. He's like a grandfather. I get emotional when I speak about grandfather because he really touches me. He goes and gets me in my heart and in my soul and speaks to me. And I don't know. I'm hoping that some of this rubs off on you guys, so that you, because emotion is what songs and poetry and arts are all about. That's what it's all about.
One quick question. Is the First Nations culture, or the culture you describe, your song is in the minor tones, not major?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, does that define Native culture, that everything would be, if you were writing for the Native culture, you would tend to write more towards the minor tones than the major?
Not necessarily. The reason I took, now we're getting into music, the reason I took minors is because this is a serious subject. This here is a serious, so I gravitated, again, subconsciously. Some writers will say, well, how did, you'll ask the writer, how did you write that song? And they'll say, I don't know. Well, I sort of get that, because sometimes you don't know where it came from. And for me, the when that Danielle came up with on that piece of paper, right away, I was drawn to the A minor and the E minor, and it just brought me there.
Could it be written in majors?
It could be. would give it a whole different emotional feeling. It would, yeah, it would definitely give it a, I do that with French. Sometimes I like to play around with songs, songs that I've written, but also these interpretations covers, and take them where they've never been before. So taking a minor song and putting it in major and trying to see if it fits. And if it fits, I'll try it in front of an audience. If it doesn't, it has to fit for me first before I bring it in front of an audience. But anyway, it's but you can do that, yeah. And coming back to do natives always write in minor? No. Nisa. No, I don't. I'd have to play it on the guitar. But a lot of the. It's like every culture. We have songs that are more serious and other songs that are lighter. And songs that are lighter tend to be more major chords. Tend to be, not always. Watch out, because some artists will take you and you'll go, oh my God, as if he put minor chords on this song and it's all about happy stuff, you know?
Would First Nations know in their music about diminished and augmented chords and any?
Except for the ones like Jeremy Dutcher, who's been to university, like the more
in the past.
The more contemporary musicians would. In the past, it was a feel thing, and don't forget the first instrument. What's the first instrument?
Drum. The drum.
What's the first instrument?
The voice.
The voice.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, the voice. It's the song, and then the drum. Somebody at one point, a native, at one point they didn't play drums, but at one point one of them decided he started hitting on something, and okay, I got a beat here. And then some other guy said, well, hey, let's make this circle, and then we'll put skin on it. And then they started to. It's humans, and natives are humans. They're really down to nature humans. We're very inventive. We can be so destructive, but we can be so inventive. Humans are interesting. We're an interesting bunch. We are. But anyway, I digress. So what we're going to do now, before I go to the next song, so that gives you an idea of what that's one of my songs. I do write songs in English and in French, but this was like my claim to fame on my first album. And like I said, it's the song that got me a lot of gigs. And when you're an artist who does that for a living, you kind of gravitate to stuff that gets you gigs because you want to feed yourself and pay the bills like everybody else. So we'll do so you know who I am now. We'll do a little bit of a round table first, and then we're going to do a little exercise together. I'm glad Nadine will be able to hear you, because I thought, I wasn't sure with the Zoom if we have to do the chat thing, but okay, so je commence à la gauche. I'm going to do like Grandfather Dominic, and we'll start on the left.
Hi. So my name is what I do in my life, and why I'm here.
Well, what you do, your name, what you do, and whatever else you want to tell us.
All right. First, I have a question. Do you have to credit Daniel for that? Because he writes like the chorus?
No, that's a good question. You have to credit. He never asked for credit.
Okay. Right.
It was just the words. He didn't come up with the music or anything. And like I literally, he literally gave me a piece of paper with a bunch of O's and then when that and a bunch of O's and then when Becky. He never asked for and at that point we weren't really, all we wanted was a song to start that show. So he didn't really care.
All right. My name is Hubert. I come from Quebec. I'm just here since September. I'm working at the French radio station of Pénétanguéchi. So I'm doing the morning show there. And what else? Now I've got a girlfriend from here. So because my that's right. My contract was just a year, so normally I was going back to Quebec in September. Now I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I discovered that's right.
No, the reason it's because I worked for CFNH before, and I've seen a lot of guys from Quebec come here and fall in love with somebody from here, and we end up paying. Maxime Jaudoin, he was at the French radio station. He met a girl from here. He's married and lives here now.
So yeah.
Maxime Pronovo.
Ah, Maxime Pronovo, c'est ça. Jaudoin, il est reparti. Ouais.
Yeah, it's the sport guy. So yeah, so that's about it. I'm 25. What else? So I don't know what I'm going to do in September. Maybe stay, keep the job, maybe keep the girlfriend. It's hard to do. I should write a song on this.
You know what? Keep that idea. You never know. It might be everything. Toutes les matières de chanson. Everything. You can make a song out of anything. So keep that in mind. You might want to bring it back on.
It's always on that. That's it. Thank you.
I'm Wesley Covey. I've had some music lessons with Louis Lefebvre, so I know him pretty well.
Okay.
He worked with my mom at the high school in Elmville.
Okay.
So that's how I know him. I'm 17. I'm hoping to become and go into music production and audio engineering.
Cool.
As a career. Yeah, I go to school, play baseball.
And you're a Blue Jays fan.
Yeah.
Good time to be a Blue Jays fan.
Not so much last name.
Yeah. We don't talk about that.
No. You sound like you're going for an Ontario green card.
Me?
Yeah.
There's no green card. There's no green card.
No.
But a hell card. I need a hell
I
card.
need a hell card, yeah.
My name is Norm. As Glenn said, I'm a retired police officer. That's a long time ago. I've been retired 14 years now. Still follows me.
Before you go further, from what region were you in?
Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And then I retired and looked in my rearview mirror at the city receding, and that's as much as I like it, just back there. This is home. I'm a sailor. I've been in bands for about 40 years on and off. I've been playing with Blind Mary, the local Celtic band, up here until COVID. This would be 12 years now, so it was 10 years with them. I'm hoping we get back together. I've written a few poems that my bandmates took from me and added music to it, and then we recorded them and we gave them out as gifts. So some of my stuff has been recorded that never went anywhere.
Cool.
So I've been writing for decades just for snicks and giggles.
Yeah, nice.
I'm Glenn Irwin. I'm 65. I could retire, but I don't want to. I like working too much. I'm a technical services coordinator here at the MCC, basically the audio engineer, and I'm responsible for the physical building. I have currently one CD out, released a couple of years ago. Another one is right now being mastered and almost ready to go out. And I'm currently writing my third. I love music, always have. I've got the best job in the whole world. So,
Yeah. Nice.
I'm Randy Peacock. I'm retired. Just moved back up here 2 years ago. Was mostly raised in Aurelia. Went up to north to Timmins for a while. Settled back down in Toronto, and finally retired here. I've been playing music for about 50 years. I've written about half a dozen songs or so. Didn't record anything, but just mostly personal songs or something.
Yeah, nice.
I'm Mike Lefebvre. I'm Louis' brother. That's my claim to fame. My only claim to fame. I'm actually, I was a land developer most of my life, and I've worked 55 years now, primarily for the Polish and Ukrainian community in the Kawaja Bomb Beach area, mostly Kawaja. I live on the 12th of Tiny. I hope to retire at 85, currently 75. I have no intention Death will retire me. That's it. I have a total obsession with work. Sawmills and you name it. And
Nadine, do you want to go next? You can start the.
Oh. Oui, bonjour, Nadine Lalonde, traductrice de profession. I do translation, so when you're not finding a word in shows, it's asking. I do a lot of pragmatic writing for my job in both English and French, but there's a fire of creative writing that has started and I can't stop it. So, since you're a firefighter, I thought I'd come to this workshop to find out how to master this a little bit, you know? So, and get myself some structure so I could start writing a little bit more, and taking the time to do that rather than always being at my job doing it. So, bring in some enjoyment and some creativity. I put in the chat that expression is the opposite of depression. And I think there's a lot of depression out there, so we have to get workshops so that we can all bring some expression out in the world and enjoy, a little bit more joy.
Cool. I put out fires, never creative fires. I never put those out.
Hi, I'm Julie. I am recently retired, so I thought this would be. I always thought that I had a book or have a story. I have something to tell, and I thought a book sounds too scary and too big. So I just came upon this course and thought this could be a fun workshop to maybe start, writing some poetry or getting some ideas down. I loved writing poetry and short stories when I was in high school, and then life happened. So now it's come full circle, but a little bit, yeah. I'm honored to be in such a group where you guys have been writing and have been in the music world, so it's very, very cool. So that was fun.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Annick Maheu. Hello, my name is Annick Maheu. I'm métis of multiple generations from La Fontaine. I am now a mom of 3 and need a creative outlet. I also work for Parks Canada. I've traveled quite a bit for work and came back home 4 years ago or so. So it's great to be back here. I know Michel from my childhood, and we worked together on the Festival du Loup, la Meute culturelle, around the committee of all our French cultural events in La Fontaine area. And so, Du Nord Possible. I was a performer, I guess, in my young days. But musically, I've taken lessons, but I'm not musical at all. But I'm looking for a creative outlet that, something other than caring for children and that kind of stuff.
and your father's Louis.
My dad is Louis, and
Of course.
your father and my grandfather were great friends. Apparently, Louis was telling me that the other
Absolutely.
day. So,
Absolutely.
roots run deep.
Just one last thing to say. I excel in mediocrity.
Oh.
That's my claim to fame. My brothers, they're good, but I excel in mediocrity. I forgot to say that.
Don't worry about it.
I have a question. Is everybody understand French? I know it's hard to speak, but everybody kind of understand. No?
No, not at all. Not everybody speaks French.
No. But
I can understand.
I'm just wondering, as I was explaining, do you recognize any of the words on the French?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you do recognize them.
I grew up reading the French
Okay.
boxes.
Okay, because later on I'm bringing in a song that's in here, that's from a legend in Quebec who's called Félix Leclerc. And the reason I picked this song is because of the poetry of it. And whether you're rhyming in French or in English, doesn't matter, or Spanish or whatever. And it's really because of the rhymes that I picked that song out, because he, in one song, does almost every type of rhyme you could possibly make with a 4-line verse. So we'll be looking at that as well. So I just wanted to make sure that, when you're looking at it, that you can decode as we're going. But no, this is going to be good. We've got a good group here. There might be people that will kind of add on it as we keep going. There were a few people that were supposed to be here that aren't here tonight, so it's possible that we might get more people coming in as we go. So that said, onward and upward. I'll do a second song. We'll discuss it. Then I've got an exercise I want us to do together. Especially now at the beginning. I don't want to roll the punchlines. I would have never been a good comedian. Okay. Second song. So, souvenirs. Nadine,
Oui.
c'est souvenirs. La prochaine chanson.
All right.
So, this is a song by a guy named John Prine, who died
Uncle John.
during COVID.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah. Amazing songwriter who was not really that well known because he was in between the folk scene and the country scene. He was too folk for the folkies. He was too folk for the country and too country for the folk. And he just never got well known, so musicians know him. I've sang Prine for forever. I know a lot of his songs. He's an excellent writer, and that's why some of the songs I really tried to emphasize when I'm picking songs, and I'm having a hard time whittling it down because I've got so many that I was just thinking of and going through the words and going, oh, this would be a good one to analyze. Because that's what we'll analyze some songs and then we'll do exercises, just so you get a feel. And I'm really trying to pick stuff that's very different, okay, in style as well as. So sometimes, like tonight, I'm playing them all. Next week, we'll probably look at some of them on video, because I couldn't do them justice on just the guitar. Some of them you have to have the instrumentation and all that stuff. Anyway, so just follow along, and then we'll discuss the song. All snow has turned to water. Christmas days have come and gone. Broken toys and faded colors, all that's left to linger on. I hate graveyards and old pawn shops, for they always bring me tears. Can't forgive the way they rob me of childhood souvenirs. Memories can't be bought, can't be won, carnivals for free. Well, it took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how it slipped away from me. Broken hearts and dirty windows make life difficult to see. That's why last night and this morning they always look the same to me. I hate reading old love letters, oh, they always bring me tears. Can't forgive the way they rob me of the sweetheart souvenir. Memories can't be bought, they can't be won, carnivals for free. Well, it took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how it slipped away from me. go one verse at a time, okay? All snow is turned to water, Christmas days have come and gone. Broken toys and faded colors are all that's left to linger on. What do you think?
Setting the stage.
Yeah,
That's what he's doing, setting
bet.
the stage for what he wants to say.
yeah, and what do you think
Such an
he's
incredible
saying?
way.
Like, if we go to the next, because it's like a 2-verse glued together, if you want. That first one, it's like 2 verses, 4 lines, and then the next 4 lines, if you notice, they go in another direction, but they come right behind it. So he doesn't put a break in between them, okay? He just slides it into. I hate graveyards and old pawn shops, for they always bring me tears. I can't forgive the way they rob me of my childhood souvenirs. So,
I
thoughts?
don't understand the, I can't forget the way they robbed me of my shit. Why they robbed him?
Anybody got thoughts?
Emotionally. They robbed his emotions.
Okay, and then why do you say that?
Well, he's reminiscing about happier times, younger times.
Okay, yeah.
Life has changed.
And I should add, when we look at a song, when we analyze or study a song, there's no right or wrong answer. The only guy who knows, the guy who wrote it, okay? Sometimes it's pretty straightforward, but in this case, and the funny thing about this is, John Prine was 20 years old when he wrote this song. He was just a kid when he wrote this song. This is one of his first songs. So, and he's talking about stuff that's like way above his years. A kind of a hint is when he says, I hate graveyards and old pawn shops because they always bring me tears. So, you know, I don't know how you people feel about it. I hate graveyards. Pawn shops, I'd never go to a pawn shop. But I hate graveyards. Like I'll go there because my parents are there. But I don't know, there's something about a graveyard that's so final. For, you know?
I can understand very well the first part, like the snow turned to water. It's pretty clear and it's very well written. Everything is well written. But if the graveyards and the old pawn shop remind him of this time, the souvenirs are not robbed, they're back.
They're not?
They're not robbed, they are back into him. Why you say they robbed? Because he remind them, so they're not robbed, they're just back with him.
Yeah, but let's say he lost his grandmother
Yeah,
and had to go to the graveyard.
yeah.
The graveyard robbed him of his grandmother.
Yeah.
That's how you have to look at it, I think.
Yeah.
That's it.
And the toys, the pawn shop robbed him the old toys.
He probably ran into a rough
Pawn-
time.
pawn
and had
shop
pawn
would
off
be a
some
lot
stuff
of
for
old-
fixing up.
That could be like a metaphor for old memories, pawn shops, you know,
Yeah.
things lost, given up.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I know.
Metaphor,
Yeah.
right?
Because people will bring stuff to a pawn shop and then they'll get money for it. But then they're getting rid of something that might have,
Been important to them.
yeah, it might have,
But they're
Yeah,
gonna
stories attached to it, like it had a life, and now it's like severed and going on to another
yeah,
life.
yeah.
My mistake is that souvenirs don't mean the same thing in French and English.
Exactly.
That's my
Exactly.
mistake.
Yeah.
That's, I keep getting hung up.
Ouais, c'est vrai.
Because
It's-
souvenirs
there's a little-
in French is like your memories. But a souvenir in English can be like something I got at
An object.
Disney World, right?
Yeah, no, look at, he does say broken toys and faded colors
Yeah.
are all that's left to linger on. You know, from Christmas days. Think from Christmas days of past when he's got broken toys in the corner, okay? And then he brings us to the chorus. And by the way, botten is not a word. You bought something, but that's where Prime, it's not just about the poetry. It's really about saying something, about life, about the real world. Most of his songs are anchored in the real world. I'll probably bring a few more just so you get an idea, but he's a master of it's poetic and it's metaphoric and all, but it's so real stuff.
Like accessible to whichever class you grew up in or whichever profession
Yeah, I often call him the regular, the ordinary man's genius, because there's genius in his songs that's so simple. So he brings us to the chorus, message of the song. Okay, souvent, not always, but most of the time, your main message is going to be in the chorus. So if you do write a song, just something to think about. Doesn't have to be. When Becky, that I didn't put the message, I put the subject in the chorus. Anything is possible. That's what I don't want you to, like, I'm giving you ideas, but you take them and run with them. And if it brings you on to other ideas, that's even better. I like to think of myself as an inspirational instigator. So I'm here to kind of instigate it, and then after that, you guys take the inspiration wherever you will. Everybody will have a different way of doing it, and we're just beginning the process. So, okay, memories can't be bought. They can't be won at carnivals for free. Okay, carnivals, you know, when you go and play the game, you never win for free at a carnival. So, well, it took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how they slipped away from me. What do you think he just says there in his chorus?
Life lessons.
Yeah, a life lesson, and it's about growing old.
Yeah, passing of time.
That's what's so for me so mystifying is he was 20 years old when he wrote this song, and it's so beyond a 20-year-old's you know, writing, but you know, he just got it. He got it on another level.
I wonder if he was listening to Gordon Lightfoot when he wrote the words
I
"Away
don't-
from Me."
I don't know.
That's
I know they knew
Lightfoot
each
song.
other. I know they knew each other, but I think Lightfoot's probably yeah, they're
Younger.
probably close they're probably close in age.
Remember,
Actually,
John
probably-
Bryan was a late bloomer. He didn't start recording until middle age.
Who's that?
John Bryan.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
but
a mailman.
yeah, and Bill, among other things, among other things.
First, he was doing, he went with his buddies to a bar and there was karaoke, people were getting up and doing an open mic.
Yeah.
And he said, these guys are really awful. And he said, well, can you do better? Get up there. And he sang one song and there wasn't a sound in the room. He thought he bombed it, but they just exploded.
Yeah.
And then the guy hired him to come back every Thursday. And then Chris Christopherson came to see him, and that's the rest of it.
That's right.
And that's history, yeah. Actually, he wrote this song on the way to that place where he used to sing, that this guy hired him. He'd hire him every week, and on his way, because I looked up the song, on his way to going to sing, I says, man, I'm playing always the same songs. I gotta sing another one. So he wrote this. And it's like, okay. Anyway, something to be admired. So now if we go into the next part, the two next verses, because they're sang back to back. I don't know why I broke it up in between. That's probably an error of, should have been brought them in closer. But broken hearts and dirty windows make life difficult to see. Kind of makes sense. That's why last night and this morning always look the same to me, you know?
It's very good, this one. This verse is very good.
Yeah, and then I hate reading old love letters, for they always bring me tears. Can't forgive the way they rob me of my sweetheart's souvenir. And then after that, he goes right back to his chorus, boom, and kind of, ça renforce le message. It brings strength to his message when he comes back again with his chorus. And it's a really short song. It's not that long. Most of his songs weren't that long, actually.
He must have been having girlfriend problems at 20.
Maybe.
To write something like this, he had to.
Maybe. For me, well, if I look at some of the stuff, he speaks of, like he says he doesn't really know where this came from, like a lot of artists, right? But something, the emotion that he was feeling is from when he was a kid. He went to a carnival with his brothers, and one of the brothers got lost, and it scared him, like really scared him, that they were never going to find him again. And years later, this emotion came out in this song. And he was just a kid back then. But it just goes to show you might tap in subconsciously to things in your mind when you're writing that you won't even realize. Like you'll go and get an emotion like he did for this song, way back when he was a kid. And without knowing it, he channeled it into this song and figured it out probably years later and went, souvenirs, that's right, the carnival. That's because that's where his brother got lost, was in a carnival. So he kind of, you know, some artists do it willingly, some of them do it subconsciously, sometimes you never know. Like for me, sometimes it happens subconsciously, like in a decade, and sometimes I know where I'm going when I sit down because this is what I want to say. And don't forget the theme of this workshop. When Daniel said that, I thought that was just the greatest thing. Express yourself. Exprimez-vous. Whoa, that sounds sorry. That sounds like an old.
I'll shut him off.
You know, those old crank phones.
Keep these away from me.
Back in the day.
Should have left it in the car.
You're from originally from Purkisfield, eh?
Ladou's, concession.
Ladou's, yeah. So not really Purkisfield.
No,
Not
not
really.
at all.
But not really La Fontaine.
Au Point Ladou's.
Yeah, it was kind of in the middle. I'm a La Fontaine boy. They're both
Yeah,
born in
we're
La
La
Fontaine. And
Totally
back,
different world.
yeah, you guys were sort of in between the two worlds. Because Purkisfield and La Fontaine were a big rivalry. Like they always were a big rivalry. And then the people in the middle were kind of stuck in the
We're stuck in the middle with you.
But the reason I bring this up is that back in the day, when we were kids, the first fire departments, that's what they had for instead of one of these, instead of one of those, they had there was old phones that would start ringing. Yeah, and then after that it went to I remember an air raid siren. Like it was literally an air raid siren. You could hear that all over the village. Like that's what they went to when they built their first fire department. And it would ring and ring until somebody went there and pressed the button for a minute and a half. And if you didn't press it for a minute, it just kept ringing and ringing. People in the village would go crazy. But anyway, so that's, before we go on to the next storytelling team, what's the timer? Just a wait. Oh, jeez. This went by fast. Okay, I will make sure we get at least this done and maybe get into this last song, Yarmouth Castle, which is this is a Gordon Lightfoot tune, Gordon Lightfoot song, and it's actually, everybody knows the Edmund Fitzgerald, right? Yeah. Okay, that's why I didn't pick. But no, I sing it a lot. I think it's a great tune, but I figured let's go somewhere else. That's why I picked Yarmouth Castle, which is which is from his earlier. Actually, he never recorded this in studio. The only recordings there is of this song are live versions of this song. And I discovered it through a friend of mine, Pierre Hewley, a guy in La Fontaine who used to go to his place and listen to albums. And that's where I discovered Yarmouth Castle. Anyway, before we go any further, I don't know if I should give you a few minutes to think about it or we're going to just throw it out there. No, I'll give you a couple of minutes. just so you have a few things written down. Okay, I want you to think of a few themes. Okay, Nadine, tu m'entends comme il faut?
Oui.
Ouais. I want you to think of a few themes, 2, 3, 4, whatever comes to mind. But I don't want you to just throw them down on paper. I really want you to pick themes that mean something to you. Okay, that evoke an emotion. It can be rage, it can be happiness, it can be love, it can be whatever. It can be any emotion. Just think of themes that bring you some type of meaning or emotion. 3 or 4. 3 or 4 we should do. And then we'll do, on va faire un tour de table. We'll go around the table. Fait que tu m'as entendu, Nadine?
Oui, oui.
C'est bon? OK. Right? So the exercise is write down about 3 or 4 themes that really mean something to you, that create an emotion. Scribbler. Scribbler. They say scribe, but usually mine is more like scribbling. So, on y va?
It's hard to explain in English, but I have in French le mépris, despisal, despisal.
Contempt?
Nazienne? Mépris?
Ben,
Qu'est-ce que c'est là?
like contempt.
Content.
Contempt.
My favorite thing, no.
Okay.
I have la mauvaise foi, so it's bad faith. Can you say that? Bad faith. The other is very long. It's like the simplicity of tries to become friends.
The simplicity?
The spontaneous friendship. The spontaneous friendship.
Okay,
The
I like,
spontaneous friendship.
yeah, okay.
See, by saying it, I define it. Yes.
Okay. We'll go with that for now. I'll take 3 from everybody, and then that way, if there's other stuff, we'll, as we go along, we can add to it. So,
I thought of loneliness.
okay,
And like inner peace or
inner beast,
inner peace.
peace,
Yeah.
peace.
I love it.
It could be, it could be either one, actually.
We all have one.
Oh, geez, that's too good. I'm just gonna write it beside it anyway. Somebody might be able to take it. Actually, I might take that. In the inner beast, I really like that. Yeah.
I forget what it was now.
You didn't write it down?
I didn't have a pen right now.
Oh,
I could've done
geez,
it.
you should have, oh, I had an extra.
I thought I remembered, but
Okay, think about it, if it comes back to you. Don't forget a pen. Pen and a little pad usually help.
yeah.
I got one for you.
Oh.
Sorry. I got it. Can keep it. I have
Alright,
it.
thank you.
So, if you get it, we're
I'll let you know, yeah.
we're good, yeah. Okay?
And past loves or past lovers?
I'm gonna put both of them. You kind of go together.
Solitude,
Solitude?
solitude.
Okay.
Old friends.
So we got 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Time, basically all time, past, present, and future.
Time, okay. Okay,
Family, that could be your immediate family or the family of the world. It could, you know, we're all sort of family, right?
okay. Relation.
And I'm gonna say relationships, and I use that in the broadest sense of the term, so it could be like cause and effect, it could be personal relationships, you know, the relationship between the sun and the moon, relationships, you know, in general.
Okay, relationship. Yeah, I've already seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm all, but that's
Pretty broad.
Yeah.
Living life in the outdoors in the wild. Grandchildren. Fear of getting old. Fear of getting old.
Okay. Whoever's, you're probably gonna be able to hear better than I will. So Nadine, hang on, I'm just gonna flip to another page. Okay, we're good.
Freedom,
Freedom.
liberté, liberté, beauté,
Okay, oh. I'm not, faut vite la main. Okay, what was the second one?
Beauté,
Beauté?
la beauté, quelque chose qui inspire par la beauté. And then like a desire for expression, a longing, trying to get something out. You know, that effort of getting something out that you need to get out, the longing for expression.
Longing, that was it? Longing?
Longing for expression.
Longing for expression.
Pour revenir au thème de tout l'atelier.
I'm getting it. I really like that. I'll put that aside. Super.
Okay. Rage with 2 words beside it, generational genocide.
Okay,
Wow,
rage.
heavy.
Hang on. Very good.
I just coined those 2 words last night. Generational genocide.
Okay.
Second one is love, daughter, sadness, and illness.
Love.
Daughter,
Sadness.
sadness, and illness.
Okay.
And the third is longing for life on the 12th as we knew it.
Nostalgia, kind of.
Nostalgia, just one word, nostalgia.
It's West on the mic.
Hmm?
Elle demandait si c'était toi.
For
J'ai pas compris.
Elle demandait si c'était toi qui parlais.
Oh.
Oui. Oui, ça
longing
vient
for, longing for,
Well,
12.
life on the 12th as we knew it. Longing for the past again. Simpler times.
longing.
I think that could be applied to all of our township.
Oui, il y a des gens.
Okay, simpler times. Okay. Life on the 12th concession. For the weird Les autres, c'est en concession.
Comme
So you're originally from Toronto, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, is anybody else from out of the area? Oh, okay, it's because I think it's just in Ontario, because in Quebec it's des rangs. In Ontario it's concessions, where it's all broken up into
Blocks.
concessions, yeah, blocks, that's right. So that's why I kind of added the past and simpler times. I'll explain, and I'll explain why after, because there's a method to my madness. There always is.
Loss, that can be loss of a parent, a child, a loved one.
Okay.
Or it can be loss of innocence, like your reality versus your dreams.
I don't loss. Okay. Was there
So
something?
it could be like of a person, or it can be of innocence, loss of innocence.
A person or of?
Innocence, innocence. Innocence?
Innocence.
Oh,
Innocence.
innocence, sorry.
No, I know what the mask is called.
Innocence. And a person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put both, okay.
Love, so, you know, first love, that deep passion, that kind of
For-
devil may care kind
What was that?
of, devil may care kind of attitude when you're
Okay.
16 and in love for the first time.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right.
And then growth.
Growth?
Growing into oneself, changing and growing?
Did you say other stuff there, growth?
Yeah, growing into your true self
Oh, okay.
and changing, like being open to change, I guess.
Keep that together.
Ça se rejoint tout, là, mais comme les chapitres de la vie, comme chapters of your life, like
Chapters
it
of
connects
your
with a lot of things. But the acknowledgement of like having different chapters in your life. La langue, la culture.
Okay.
Puis le dernier, c'est comme l'espoir dans l'humanité, comme faith in humanity, or having, yeah, being hopeful.
Okay. If you have other ones, keep them, okay? We might use them at some point. The reason we won't have time to do anything with this evening, but the idea, and don't be afraid to keep writing. Don't be afraid to keep writing. After you leave this class, it doesn't mean, okay, well, I gotta wait till next week to write anything down. I've got pens and pads everywhere in my coat, beside my bed, everywhere. Whenever an idea, because I've lost too many, and then, in the middle of the night, I'll think about it in the morning, and no, you won't. So I've taught myself to write it down. I go for walks and boom. If I get an idea, I stop on the side and I write it down. Whether it's just a phrase or an idea or a theme or for a song, if I think it's got some kind of value, and then I'll look at it later and maybe I'll say, that's crazy. Or maybe I'll go, oh yeah, let's do this. Okay?
Are we going to get that one?
What? No,
No?
not yet.
Like, well, not yet, like.
What we're going to do is our exercises that we're going to be doing. I'm going to pin these up when you come here next week, and we're going to get to exercises next week. Tonight was more just to get to know each other a little bit and analyze some song. And the idea here is not necessarily for you to pick your own theme.
No.
Because there's amazing stuff here. I'm looking at it, I go, holy gee, yeah, there's some songs in there. Good song ideas, okay? And when we do the exercises, you can pick and choose one, as we go. You can come up with another one, but that's the whole idea behind this, was so that it inspires the exercises that are coming. And there'll be different types of exercises. Some will have to do more with rhyming, some will, so, anyway, once we get there, and I'm always looking for new ways to try, and I try all kinds of stuff. I think that's the only way you learn. And in the fire department, we have a saying that life is lifelong learning. And it's true. I've learned so much. I've been on the fire department for 42 years. I started when I was 18 years old. I seen the old boys club with the beer and beer in the fire hall, to training in all kinds of stuff, water rescue, accidents, fires. We get less. We do a lot more first responder stuff now. Actually, we do a lot of first aid. That can be a bit of a challenge sometimes, but that's right. So that's why we took this. Okay, this might not even. Who knows? Maybe one of these things will end up being your poem at the end or your song. But the idea is, we're gonna try creative exercises, just so you can work through stuff and grab some of these themes and use them. And it can be somebody else's theme. If there's something on there that you see and you go, like next week is another Wednesday, so you never know, when you walk in this class, you might go, "Ah, that speaks to me right now." So boom, and away we go. So we'll try some different stuff. But we've only got a little bit of time left, and I want to make sure we get through Yarmouth Castle before we head out. And do you want me to take these songs back, or do you want to bring them back with you? You gotta bring them back. You gotta make sure you bring them back, especially since there's still 2 more to go. There's still 2 more to go, and I'll be bringing others. But now, we're kind of going to go in between. We'll analyze a song, we'll do an exercise, we'll analyze a song. Tonight was more to get to know each other, so this is the Yarmouth Castle, which is a true story, like Edmund Fitzgerald. It's about a boat that heads out. But this one here, I don't know, there's, the way he describes this, is kind of, no, it's not really similar. For anybody who knows the Edmund Fitzgerald, when we get once we're done this, try and make some of the comparisons. Like, there's some things that kind of look like the Edmund, but there's other things that are just so different than the Edmund Fitzgerald. So here we go. Well, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The anchors have been weighed from Miami to Nassau, just bound across the waves. She's a heading south to Biscayne Bay, to the open sea. The Yarmouth Castle's dying and don't know. Now the many years she's been to sea, she's seen a better times. She hears a cool protest as she casts away her life. And the grumble of her engine and the rust along her spine. Hell, the castle she's too old to be sailing. But the sands run out within her heart, a tiny spark glows red. Smolders through the evening, there's laughter overhead. And the dinner served and the cups dipped, drinks pass around. Deep within the fire starts to burn. Now it's midnight on the open sea, the moon is shining bright. Some people join the party, others say goodnight. There's many who are sleeping now, it's been a busy day. And the tiniest wisps of smoke is rising. Oh Lord, she groans, I'm burning, let someone understand. But a silent plea is wasted in the playing of the band. Everybody's dancing on the deck and they're having such a time. And a voice says, shut up and deal, I'm losing. Deep within the Yarmouth Castle, a fire begins to glow. It leaps into the hallways, it climbs and twists and grows. And the paint she wore to keep her yellow, below high but it burns. Soon that old fire is raging. Up beneath the bridge it's climbing fast, the captain stands aloft. He calls up to the boatswain, he says, boatswain, we Oh, the ragged hoses and the racks, no pressure to lay hold. And the people down below will soon be dying. Oh, the midship stones blazing down, spread fore and aft. The people are scrambling as the fire blocks the path. The evil smoke surrounds them and they're falling in their tracks. And the captain in his lifeboat, he's a leaving. Oh, then a ship, the Bahamas star, steaming through the night. She sees the castle blazing, 'tis a terrible sight. Jump down, the captain cried, we'll save you if we can. And the paint on his funnels is a-frying. God help the ones who sleep below, they cannot find the way. Thank God for those who were rescued on this awful day. Now the heroes, they are many, but the times are growing slim. Now from stern to bow, she's a-blazing. Oh, the Yarmouth castle's moaning, she's crying like a child. You can hear her if you listen above the roll so wild. Is she crying for the ones who lie within the northern sides? Crying for herself, I'm wondering. But the living soon were rescued, the ones who live to tell. From the star they watched her as she died there in the swells. Like a toy ship on an old mill pond, she burned all through the night. Slipped beneath the waves in the morning. Yeah. Well, here we are. So we'll try and get this fairly quick, but okay. For any questions first before we go further?
Why was this not recorded like Fitzgerald?
Why
was it not made infamous like Fitzgerald?
That's a good question. I don't know if it's the fact that he never put it in the studio album, and it's only been there's only live versions. It's a really good question. So, some songs, and it has a lot to do with record companies. Sometimes record companies don't believe in it's not really the artist who, especially now, now we have independent artists who push their own stuff. So had Lightfoot been in today's world, he might have pushed this song a lot more than his record company did, because it's an amazing song.
It is.
It's an amazing song. And for those who know Edmund Fitzgerald, do you see, like, there's similarities, but there's a big difference. One, I wonder if you guys have noticed something about the Yarmouth Castle, what Lightfoot does to this boat.
Well, it comes alive, it has its own personality.
That's it.
And at one point, when you're singing and you know it's about to burn and you know like the paint is going to start flaming and like I could see it and I could feel it.
He can.
It's very cool.
Yeah, he makes it into a person.
Yes.
He makes Yarmouth Castle into a person. That's the difference between this one and Edmund Fitzgerald. Edmund Fitzgerald is a really great song. Tells a story and, you know, the boat going down and the ship and the crew, but it doesn't have that, like, it's like the Yarmouth Castle is the person in this story. You know, sure, there's people on board. From what I read, there was like 500 people on board, and this was a cruise ship. It was like a cruise ship, and the 87 went down, so, which, considering how many people were on board, they did save quite a few. But it was a wooden ship, it wasn't made of steel. And a lot of laws for ships changed after this disaster. Like cruise ships weren't allowed to be built out of wood anymore.
So what
The
year
sheep.
would this have gone down?
Geez, I had he wrote it in, hang on.
You wrote it in 69.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what.
Yeah, he wrote it in 69, the thing in Life magazine came out in 65, so it would have been around then. And he probably read the article and wrote the story from the article. Because that's another, inspiration you can get from anywhere. It can come from anywhere. Like you live something, that can be part of your inspiration. Or you
Ship
read
caught fire in
something.
1965.
Pardon?
Ship caught fire in 1965.
Okay, so, yeah, so there it is. The Life magazine was just after that. But it was an older ship than that. It was around back
Made
in,
in 1927.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wikipedia.
yeah, that's what it was. It was back in the 1940s, and they used to run soldiers out during the Second World War. It was towards the end of the war. And then after that it became, but the reason it's called the Yarmouth is because at one time it was doing, from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia to Boston, it was doing that run. So that's why it got called the Yarmouth Castle. But here, if you notice, he's leaving from Nassau, going from Miami to Nassau. That was a run that it was doing later in its career as a boat. But he, you notice how he starts it, the boat's leaving the dock, and there's just a little bit of it. And I know, we study fires, and it's just starting really slow. And back in the day, like now you have so much chemicals in the stuff. Like when we go to a house, we're not gonna get there in time. There's so much chemicals in it. But back in the day, houses were built out of wood and furniture was built out of stuff that wouldn't burn as fast. So it would take forever. So it's taking a while before the fire really breaks out. They're out there. You know, they're out on the ocean by then. And there was, from what I read about it, there was no SOS called out. And you heard that in one of the verses. He says the captain in his lifeboat is leaving. Well, supposedly, in the true story, not just the captain, but some of the shipmates were in a boat, and they were leaving. And when this Bahama Star shows up, they didn't want to take them into the boat, because the captain, his job is to stay with his boat. He's supposed to go down with the ship. Like, it's cruel to say, but that's the job of the
It's
captain.
kind of folklore, but he's supposed to be the last person out, because he's
Yeah.
responsible for everybody else.
That's right, to try and save everybody. But he was one of the first ones off the boat in this case.
Kind of like the one, kind of like the Concordia that hit the little island off Italy. Apparently some things don't change.
Could it be that they were afraid of a lawsuit if this came out?
Yeah, well,
Published too much?
back in the day that, there wasn't the big insurance things and lawsuits that are now, because now, this would have been, that the insurance company would have had a heyday with this.
Oh, yeah.
But that's why the laws changed, a lot of laws changed after this incident, because of all the things that were missed, the inspections that weren't done, just the safety thrown out the window.
Well, and it kind of gives that impression, right, that it's an old ship and they haven't really kept it up, and yet there's still, they put a coat of paint on it to
Yeah.
make it look pretty, but there were other things wrong with it.
Yeah,
That's kind of the feeling I got anyway.
And if you got that feeling, that speaks to how great Lightfoot is as a writer, how well written this song is. That's why I picked it, because Edmund Fitzgerald is a great song. So is this one, and it's hardly known at all. I used to sing this all the time. I thought it was great. until and Cheryl came up. Then everybody asked me to sing it. So yeah, and like I said, this is our first night. I'm just giving you examples of things that can be done, possibilities. Okay, I don't want you to decide tonight. This is what I'm going to do. Give this time, and we're going to listen to other songs. And some of them will be storytelling. Some of them, but did you notice too? This song here isn't a verse chorus. It's all verses, one after the other. But what he does is and when that's the trick to when you write a story song and you know there's not going to be a chorus, is you get that title in there every once in a while. Like his main subject is the Yarmouth Castle. She's the subject. So he puts it in there, here and there. Not everywhere, but here and there. It's there, boom, up. Okay, Yarmouth Castle. And it's the ballad of the Yarmouth Castle. So yeah. Nadine, any thoughts?
I really like that song. I like Gordon Lightfoot and his thoroughness when it comes to painting a story like that. He has a lot of songs like that that are very, very poignant.
Yeah, oh yeah. Another one that I thought of bringing, maybe if we've got time, Canadian Railroad Trilogy. That's an amazing song. For a Canadian Railroad Trilogy. See, remember what I said about in Chanson Commande, when somebody asks you to write a song, like I did for One Decade? Well, that's what Canadian Railroad Trilogy, CBC was doing a documentary, and they asked Lightfoot to write a song. And then so he writes the song, goes in to see the producers, plays it for them, and they said, oh, that's really good. Man, that's one of his, that's like a really, it almost has a classical feel, because there's different movements in it. It starts off real slow, and then it gets fast, and it goes back to slow, and it tells the story of the railroad. For me, after O Canada, that's my national anthem. Canadian Railroad Trilogy is so Canadian. It's about how the railroad tied our whole country together. Before that, our country was just provinces like that. But that song just kind of brings through a railroad, and it's really well done. But if anybody wants to, you can find this on YouTube, Lightfoot singing Yarmouth Castle, or any. Now you can find anything on YouTube. Not always good. And on that note, I think we'll call it a night. It's 9:03:09. Merci beaucoup. Thanks for coming out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, we'll probably have a few other people who are going to come along for the ride. Another thing maybe that you want to know, because this is the first time we ever do this. And I don't want to hear this until the end of the workshops. But if you have things that you notice, or the suggestions that you would make, there'll probably be some kind of an evaluation. Kind of note them as we go along, because you might think of something next week, and then when the evaluation comes at the end, you're going to forget all about it. So if you think of something that you think should be added, or you think that was really cool, or whatever, because for me it helps, and for Dan and the people at the MCC, it'll help a lot for future workshops that might take place here and stuff.
Thank you very much.
Merci, bonne soirée. Salut Nadine.